And they do not want to be drafting right now. They want to be playing. This draft is flying by. And, maybe that is just a lot of prep work. Maybe that's just knowing exactly what your opponents want to actually play here. I really like the Pango band coming out from Wildcard. They not only does it kind of gunk up your CK and getting your illusions in and out of that fight, but Gunner was also just a monster on the hero the other day. Coddle also doesn't help that case any further, where it's just like, if you get that, it's just broken. You just have so much mana. You farm so quickly, get that Aghanim Scepter so fast, but Wyvern, okay. The ignored hero, 2 seconds on Arctic Burn, man. That's the patch. That's right there. That's the value coming in.
Starting to show maybe a little more respect to that Wyvern because, I mean, it has been picked up, what, like three, four-ish times, I think, over the last couple of days since that patch. So I don't know if it's a massive problem just yet, but it's something that apparently Wildcard to have to. So a little bit of an emphasis on the supports there in Phase 2 because they also took away that Shadow Demon. So that does now potentially leave Wildcard with some more options with regards to some of their other cores who don't have to be maybe as worried about the Shadow Demon disruption and the Demonic Purge for that matter, just kind of taking them out of fights. So see what they look to do with that. Right now, though, they're not really looking at the core position. Instead, they'll lock down the Hoodwink for themselves, which honestly is not a bad pick for them just straight up, but it also takes it away that potential Mars lane on the other side.
I am a little bit scared though, Kmart. I feel a Medusa coming. I can feel it in my bones. It's not banned out. I feel like Four Zubers could very easily fit it into their draft, but that's where also wanted to bring up with Wildcard, even though we haven't really seen them flex the CK very much in their games, this could be Devised Hero. We could be waiting, and I think with that Shadow Demon ban, it's a smoking gun, I think, for heroes like both the Medusa and the Tiny, which we probably could see if Wildcard really wanted to turn this draft around. Again, even though Yamsun has pretty much always taken up that CK, we could see them really turn things up here, but I think that's also where Four Zoomers have a very good decision, and I think it's almost the better decision for them to take away that Dusa, because it really does feel like a pretty free Medusa game so far, and so many teams have valued that hero in this region.
Yeah. Excuse me. Or Zoomers, not really one of those squads who have looked at it too often. They've only picked it up once. Of course, they've played all of 6 games so far, so they're still in the front half of their schedule, and that Medusa does get banned out pretty frequently, so it's not like it was just sitting there available and they chose not to take it. They just haven't always sort of valued it at the earlier stages when it was still unbanned. But now, this is not an early stage. We're halfway through the second phase, and the Dusa is still sitting there menacingly, so Zoomers might pick it up. Even if they don't, though, you've got yourself a Mars and a Snapfire. That lane in particular could be nasty for Wildcard to deal with, and well, they're doing something now in terms of switching up the positions because they picked the Clockwork, which at this point really kind of has to be a support for them.
Yeah, and well, thinking about it right now, what makes the most sense for me is either seeing that Coddle probably shift over to the mid position, and then you have the Snap Mars lane, and then you put Husky on the clock. That probably keeps the best balance here, but it feels a little bit early to slot your Coddle into that position right now. And of course, I think they're very highly valuing that Mars Snapfire duo, which of course is an incredibly strong duo, but at the same time, kind of feels like Four Zubers have thrown down the gauntlet a little bit here by forcing Gunner to play that Coddle. Because, well, now if Wildcard need to, I feel like they could just pick a Spirit. They could just pick someone who gets farm in the lane. Well, that's not a Spirit, but that is someone who's going to take the farm and going to be very happy with it. And if it is going to be a Coddle mid, the Coddle mid's the easiest laning situation. I could see Four Zubers just shift things around, but they do have a little bit of flexibility, I guess. I'm just really surprised. It really does feel like more of a rigid draft than I think we're used to seeing from them.
It could just be that Gunner's got the confidence on the mid Coddle to try and just sort of uh, pick it into whatever wildcard ended up choosing, which was the Queen of Pain, but a little bit strange for them. We'll see how things play out with their final pick, but for now it feels like maybe they might have jumped to the gun a little bit with that Clockwork build. So see how it plays out. We will not be seeing that Medusa, however, your Spidey sense not quite on the mark this time as Wildcard do ban it away, and they really needed to. I mean, at this point, if you let the Medusa through, especially with that 5th pick, you were going to be feeling a little bit silly.
Yeah, and maybe It still feels like such a good Medusa game. At the back of my mind, perhaps for Zoomers say because of our pick position, if we take the Deuce in the same spot as the Clockwork, then Wildcard could just very simply pick Invoker, and then Costabile doesn't want to play versus that matchup specifically, and kind of agree with him. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe you just ban out Invoker a little bit earlier. It really does feel like that hero was just set up so much. I still am kind of surprised, but at the same time, in picking up their mid laner here, they do kind of force Divine to an awkward spot. Can still take up that CK if he really needs to, but I think that's where Force Zoomers are really not pulling any punches here on the bans. Not giving Divine Llama last overall pick. Beastmaster is quite a nice choice of them, though.
Right. And if they do just want to run Yamson on the CK, there are still options available for Devi, right? A lot of the maybe top heroes have been taken out, but as you were mentioning earlier, you've seen the DK's popularity sort of tick back up over across the sea in China. So position 3 DK could still work out for them. It's been a little hit or miss over here with these NA and SA games, but still gives you a strong frontliner, still gives you that sort of blink initiator, so the option is open if that's where they want to go.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm kind of just thinking of heroes that Costabile would want to play here. Uh, And honestly, there aren't too many. I really think that Luna was also a fantastic band from Wildcard. It's where you think of heroes like Costabile's played Monkey in the tournament. He can't really play a Battle Fury carrier. If they wanted to, they would gamble on like a TB or an AM. Okay,
Okay.
Wraith King, it's the easy pick. Versus CK, though, it's always really scary playing these really hyper carries who are going to be blinking in. They're going to be blinking and stunning, but that's where CK, you're going into illusions if you get hounded. It's just a little bit not the most obvious choice, to be honest, because at the same time, usually when you are picking up that Wraith King, it's because the opposing team has that weak agi carry, has that player who's going to have to kind of avoid you during those mid game stages. But I think that's where Wildcard are certainly going to be willing to brawl you because the CK is pretty much the same hero as the Wraith King, at least in concept, except CK's got the boys, he's got the Phantasm illusions. So we'll have to see. This will come down, I think, to a lot of those team fights and whether or not I think this Mars really gets off his good spell. But that's also where there is a much better team fight coming in from Four Zoomers here. Wildcard, they're very single target. They really don't have, I want to say, all too much in those big utility spells. It's where the Mars is certainly going to overshadow anything that Wildcard pick up, even if, let's say, they turn around for a hero like the Tide Hunter, which they kind of can go for if they want to, but it certainly doesn't feel the prettiest for Devi. But that's also where they could also keep us guessing and they put Divine in the CK and maybe they double down on their lack of utility, but they could look for a better carry matchup. I just don't hope they pick Anti-Mage. If they pick Anti-Mage, I'm going to cry.
See, that is not
Okay.
anti-mage. That is an Underlord pickup for them. So that should be, yeah, that should be Devi's hero. They'll run him at the 3. That means it is going to be that carry CK for them. And, well, I suppose Esk will have to be a little careful about the blink initiations from someone like Osabile or Moo, but other than that, it feels like Wildcard's lineup is going to be able to hold its own ground more often than not if it comes down to these team fights.
Yeah, and well, the Pit Lord has also been gaining so much popularity here. Very obnoxious hero to play against if you're Coasted Bile as well. Your skeletons just kind of die. You put down the Pit of Malice. Whenever he gets back up with Reincarnate, you can't blink out. It's a little bit scary. In addition to that, Force Zoomers don't really have that very clear hero to pair with the mid coddle. It's where I think Gunnar is going to need to focus on his own game a lot more so than propping up his teammates. And that is where, again, they kind of outclass their opponents here when it comes to that early team fight. My big worry here is just as we usually see from Wildcard, as soon as Yamson gets that Blink Dagger, he's the playmaker who always picks up the slack. He's the one who always comes in and starts to save the day here. And you're going to have quite a farmed Queen of Pain just because, as we talked with Gunnar a few days ago, it's the one flaw of the coddle. You just put so much farm into that quap, and Eska's going to do so much with that farm. It's something that Four Zoomers are going to have to navigate.
Yeah, if yours, blah, blah, blah. Try that one again. Four Zoomers are going to have to be dealing with aggression coming their way. I think far earlier than their own heroes are going to be ready to make those moves themselves, especially that CK versus Wraith King comparison. So, well, we say this a lot, right? With the scenarios like this, one side is very clearly
Quiet. We're gonna be smoking.
Dude, that voice line always takes me by surprise. But one side knows it's going to have to deal with that early pressure, and it's just going to be a matter of whether they can sort of withstand it, weather that storm, and then be ready to sort of come out on the other side in a more position. But well, most of the squad's wild card has sort of tried to push the tempo against, have not been able to deal with it. It's part of the reason why they're sitting in first place right now.
Yeah, and I really do think that is where whether or not we see Yamson actually get off to a great start is really going to affect the way that this game plays out, because that really has been the pace that they play at. It's always after the BKB, after the armlet, he looks for his blink dagger, and then all those plays that sometimes Wildcard miss out on in that mid game because Devi is usually on that lane winner. He's on that hero that is really a little bit more selfish than I think a lot of the other offlaners we've seen in the game. But that's where also Devi is just the beast. Whenever he gets his brood, his timber saw, I mean, we've seen what he's able to do when he does get that farm. It's where maybe the pit ward's a little bit lackluster, but I think that's where in their draft wildcard we're kind of lacking that AoE team fight that the pit ward certainly provides.
Yeah, I mean, gives you a little bit of durability, a little bit of lockdown, and depending on how the atrophy aura sort of stacks up here in these fights, he can start doing some damage as well. So see just how much of a contribution that he has, because Underlords have been wildly fluctuating in terms of their actual effectiveness. So hopefully for Devi's sake, this one gets sort of chalked up in the good category, but well, shall see. Laning stage getting underway here. Sammy and Z-Freak traded a little bit of damage early, but Z-Freak came to the lane with 2 full stacks of Tango, so should be able to walk off any of that early damage, and now we'll see really what this duo tries to pursue here, aggression-wise, because this is a very tough duo to deal with in terms of how much damage and lockdown they have, but it's a CK on the other side, so yeah, they might just have to focus on bullying Sammy instead.
Yeah, and that's where I haven't seen it really in a lot of their series, but Zoomers, and especially this lane, they do such a good job of trading their roles. Sometimes it does feel like Z-Freak is almost the secondary offlaner with how much they get to spread the love at times, but that's also where Zoomers are going to look to pressure on that tier 2, or rather that level 2 power spike. Until then, though, they are just kind of trading Harass versus a Pugna, which we always talk about is completely okay with trading harassment onto him. The little green man is just a little bit too strong, got a little bit too much armor, a little bit too much attack range. It's also worth throwing out the Chaos Bolts. It's just a very obnoxious lane, but again, level 2, something could happen.
That's when we'll see the sort of power spike come into play for them. Meanwhile, taking a look at the other side lane, Husky is going to try to be as obnoxious as possible as the Clockwork. I believe he already sniped out a courier. Yes, he did. He got Alexos, so you know, not a massive difference maker, but this is what the Clockwork does. He sort of gets on the back line just like this, and if you're wildcard, you can technically ignore him, but if you do, sometimes you can make plays like this. Pulls the creep aggro just that little bit. Not massively effective, but it allows Costabile to sort of finish up his own wave, and they're trying to sort of maintain that equilibrium at the moment.
Yeah, and I do wonder what the kind of game plan was there, but yeah, Alexo, well, he's still aggroed by the skeletons. He's doing a lot of damage.
Back away for the time being, but yeah, I don't know. Husky had some sort of plan, but I don't think it really worked out exactly the way he wanted to with that pull, but you're still able to make some plays, get in there, burn away some more of that regen from the Hoodwink as best as you can, and all the while, this Wraith King is just going to sort of sit in this lane and be relatively okay. He's not quite up there with the other cores right now, 8 last hits on the board, but Devi and Alexo can't really pressure him either.
Yeah, it's just the one annoying aspect of this pit ward where you just cannot fight for your CS at all. Devi's just got 20 damage on you. You can stun him, you can maybe get a few, but that's also where, unfortunately, in the Clockwork, you're not seeing them really get to contest and play for a lot of those range creeps where Devi and Alexo can 100% play on top of you. This Glyph is a little bit unfortunate because I think they were looking to deny both these ranged, but at the same time, I think Devi is very pleased with what's going on.
Meanwhile, I'm looking back up top to Z-Freak. He hit level 3 actually before Moo did, and he is going to put that second point up into the little shredder. So that is an interesting choice for them. Without the cookie stun, you don't quite have that same combo, as Husky does end up getting himself picked off there. He's able to get the first blood on the board, but, well, Now, Four Zoomers don't quite have that same aggressive potential in their offlane duo, whereas Wildcard, obviously, were able to make something happen there with the kill, and Mustafi's in some trouble. Device still got
Ooh.
the damage. Oh my god. Husky's in. He's able to save the day. Yeah, okay, Firestorm won't do enough burn damage, but that was the most casual sort of almost kill from an Underlord I think I've seen in quite some time. Gustave had to back off, and they do have the healing for him, but I think he had assumed that the Atrophy Aura damage was not there.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit ugly, and as we usually
Oh
talk
boy.
about, is Kostabile is going to lose so much HP again. It's just one of the downsides of having a melee 5 here. This is a position that Husky is very comfortable in, but when it comes to walking around, getting those small camp pulls, you spend so much time out of the lane that those types of plays are very naturally made by Wildcard. At the same time, even if you do go for that small camp, and if they do stack it up, well, there's a Pit Lord. Devi is going to be super happy to farm that out, especially if he can drag it under tower. If he does drag the next wave under tower, though, they do lose a lot of that aggressive potential, but now that Kostabile is taking so many creeps, it's going to push away from the Wraith King yet again, and that's going to be him under more pressure. And he has not gotten greedy with his build-up either. No Helm of Iron Will out just yet, so he needs to be so careful in the next few moments.
He's narrowly avoided death twice, so going for him again. Well, no guarantees that you make it out of there safely. Meanwhile, Devi just kind of starting to dominate this lane, really. I mean, that's probably the nicest way that we could put it. 39 and 13. 19 last for Kostabli on the other side, so it's not fun for him so far as Husky. Okay, hit up by the Bushwhack. Devi, though, not really interested in going after.
Yeah, not the prettiest laning stage, but that's where hopefully things will calm down a little bit more here. Got that Helm of Iron Will just now. Husky's got a salve if worst comes to worst, but the damage, it
Bushwhack's
hurts.
there, the right clicks. Nice pushback from Husky, though. That might be enough. Devi's not really as fast as he would like to be. We'll get everyone out of there safely, but again, Kostabile is very nearly taken down. They have to make a almost desperation play to save him. The regen continues to be burned through, and Devi does not care. He's going to sit here, and he is going to keep on farming.
Yeah, it's just pretty easy. It's pretty unfortunate for Kostabile, but you know, that's where at least he's a Wraith King, right? He's going to be able to farm up a little bit with those skeletons once he gets a few more levels, but oh man, he's just getting beat up.
Really just working him over right now, and Husky, his effectiveness is lessening in terms of actually keeping Wildcard away. I mean, we saw the cog push there was pretty spectacular, but that's the problem. He has to use those abilities just to sort of keep people away. This isn't aggressive play that's sort of preventing Wildcard from going after the kills in the first place. So, lane, again, is not fun. Meanwhile, take a look at someone on the Four Zoomer side who's maybe enjoying their lane a little bit better. Gunner here, 51 last hits to his name. Got the Boots of Travel online already, so could start seeing some maneuvers from him. Maybe alleviate a little bit of that pressure for the Wraith King a little bit. But on the other side of things, Esk really is not that far behind at all.
Yeah, and he's got really everything he needs set up here. I believe it was Sammy Boy actually making these rotations. Small camp is blocked. The sentry placed on the Zoomer side misses that small camp sentry, I think just barely. And with that ward, and that ward is so close to being in sentry range, they're not really going to be aware. And if Gunner gets a little bit low, if he decides to play in his triangle kind of carelessly, a smoke could certainly catch them off guard here. This is a nice push, though. At the same time, as we saw the Wraith King getting bullied, Yamsun was not getting bullied nearly as much, but with the threat of Mu getting his level 6 pretty soon here, can't really afford to show in the lane either. This is a nice little push they've got going.
Honestly, they should be able to get this tower, maybe not on this wave, but with the next one. And since Sammy doesn't appear to be getting any reinforcements, they don't really have to worry about this. So your Pugna just going to stay here. Once the tower falls, honestly, he could probably just, yeah, TP out right now. Z-Freak is not going to reach him in time, and if you're Four Zoomers, really, that play works out pretty damn well for you. Rotate up, you take the tower, there's not a lot in the way of resistance, and get some gold into your pockets. However, yeah, that's a problem on the other side of the map. They get through the reincarnation. Gunner, though, did just TP in, so they are going to try and turn this into a much larger fight. Z-Freak arrives on the scene as well, and Devi, you just got to try and TP out, and he's not going to be able to. The cookie stun is there. Devi, though, is actually not dead yet. He's going to turn around. Oh my god, nice damage onto Z-Freak. Gunner does get him eventually with the Illuminate. And that's still going to be a trade that you're happy with if you're for Zoomers, but could have gotten it just that little bit quicker. Z-Freak could have avoided getting taken down there. As now S, does he have the Sonic? Yes, he
No, he's
does.
dead.
They kind of assumed S to backed away, but sticks around, has the ult. Stabile had already used the reincarnation on the first attempt under tower, so Wildcard, okay, are going to swing that trade in their favor is what I was going to say, but Alexo gets sort of sniped out at the end there.
Oh, but Asuka's
And,
still here, and
what
he
the
just...
heck?
Oh, no.
He is now trapped inside of the arena. Moo's going to hit him with the spear. Devi says, can't really help you, sorry. So he just backs away, and I'm not entirely sure what Esk was going to be able to pick up there anyway. He had already used the ult, so it didn't seem like there was much reason for him to stick around, and poor Zoomers make him pay.
Yeah, not really pretty at all. I really thought the Queen of Pain was kind of out already there, especially after you lose Alexo, but is this an overextension? I mean, they're kind of surrounded.
It's kind of looking like it, yeah. Sammy's going to TP in, though, so could potentially heal his teammates up. Not Alexo, though. He's already dead, and Yamsun was just able to walk away under his own power. So Wildcard are making some maybe a little bit questionable decisions here with the positioning over these last couple of fights, and well, Four Zoomers are not a squad that you can make those kinds of errors against. They very quickly just rack up 2 or 3 kills, and net worth lead is still technically sort of fluctuating between the two squads, but Four Zoomers have done a very nice job to even things up.
Yeah, no, they're kind of just farming, and up until this point, you know, here's like the clockwork and the snapfire. We always talk about this. 10 minutes into the game, now you're going to look at their level 6s. They're going to look for those easy smokes, especially once you get that hook shot on Husky. He can really set up a play anywhere he needs to. Not to mention, the wildcard supports need to be so careful now. If they don't have a creep wave in front of them, if they don't have a Devi Llama in front of them, then they could just get picked off, and Husky could start to snowball a little bit, even though he's had a very quiet game until this point. It's where you do start to get a little bit concerned here. And it's not like Four Zoomers can really push up onto any of these towers just yet, but it's the little skirmishes that they come away with a little bit more XP, a little bit more AoE gold, and that's where you look over at the Mars. Moo is going to be the difference maker. He's the one who really starts the game for Four Zoomers, and getting that Blink Dagger is going to be so important. Unfortunately, it's not really the Blink Dagger rush, and I don't think he should be buying this BKB, but we'll see if he decides to go for it. I've seen crazier things from Moo.
See what he can do here, and just want to give y'all an update here, just, you know, because we have gotten the clear from production. So if you're wondering why we've been calling them Four Zoomers this whole time, still we were told to do so. We have now been given the all clear to just call them nouns, so the confusion will be over. We'll actually call them by the name that is on the screen, and I'll update that just as quickly as we can. So yeah, hooray, Four Zoomers are back to being nouns again. And now, oh, that's an interesting gate from Devi, and it's immediately turned back by Husky. Nice cog play, but Yamsun, he's still pushing in here. Husky, though, drops the hook shot. That's going to buy a little bit of time. He immediately gets sniped out by Alexo and didn't actually get Kostabile out of here. He's going to get stunned up, dropped low. Yamsun has no mana, but the Sonic is going to get in there. They burn through the first life, but look at Z-Freak. Mortimer Kisses inside the arena, dishing out a lot of damage. Moo will still fall, but they managed to trade him out. Yamsun falls as well. Kostabile is back up and running. There's a TP coming in from Gunnar, and at this point, Wildcard, they are diving pretty deep here. Z-Freak should die, but at this point, do you want to go back in? The Wraith King doesn't really have a whole lot. Gonna have to try and do this himself. Sammy turns around to start healing his teammate up and buys enough time. Blink gets Esk away from the fight. His teammates, though, trying to retreat to the high ground. Looks like Nouns won't chase any further than that, but oh, man, none of these fights are simple, are they, ET? This is getting very complicated very quickly.
No, and at the end of the day, Four Zoomers certainly lose, or I guess Nouns now. Nouns certainly lose a little bit more, but that's where Gunnar was caught in between of Boots of Travel, so he can't show up to that fight really too early, and that was a hero play from Husky. If Kostabile dies a little bit closer towards that wild card side, then I feel like that is a terrible trade for them. They probably don't get the CK, but because it takes so long to get that first life out of the Wraith King's hands, Kostabile survives, they turn on the CK. Unfortunately, I think 1 or 2 of those kisses were just kind of dodged out because they had to run into that arena, but that's also where, unfortunately, Moo gave up his lane pretty early. We're not seeing that really fast progression on that Mars. He's even pretty low level, I hazard to say, just because he has been splitting a lot of that XP with the Snapfire to get those kisses online. It's where I think Nouns needs to be incredibly careful with how they engage, especially when Gunner is going to be maybe a step or a half step behind, because they can get aggressive. They've got the hook shot. They're going to have their ultimates here in just a little bit, especially on the Snapfire. But without that coddle, you can't really afford to stay around too long. It's where that Illuminate is really a large part of why they were surviving those early stages.
Sammy drifting a little bit too far forward here. Devi's going to come in to help, but the spear stun is still there. Gunner's going to come in as well. Illuminate flies through. Sammy dropped low, but his teammates have his back. They're going to be able to take down the kill. Sammy should still be dead here. Z-Freak's aim, though, is... There we go. A little bit off on the first couple of shots, but he dials it in eventually, and they turn that into a 1-for-1, but if you're Wildcard, you take that. That's core for support.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Of course, Sammy Boy, the sacrificial player that he is, was always willing to die for his team, but taking out the Mars, again, we're going to keep bringing it up until it changes. No Blink Dagger in sight, and I really do think that is how Nouns break open the map. It's how they really break open the game. Without that, Wildcard are just going to very simply defend their towers and farm everywhere else. I just wonder if they're missing out on a little bit too much here. Is that... Oh, the
Well,
rift on the hook shot. Well,
unfortunate if you're Husky there. This sort of ends up hooking to his own death, but this is going to be an interesting one, because Nouns still have players here in force. Two of their cores and Z-Freak in position. No Mortimer Kisses, though, makes this a little bit harder, but who's going to make the move? Tumblr's Toy gets him into position. They get the spear stun down. There's really no defensive play here for Yamsun. He already had the armlet toggled when he went in, so he's not able to get any of that bonus HP to himself. Devi, though... Okay, Fiends gates his way out of there. That's a nifty play from him, but now without Devi as their anchor, the rest of Wildcard don't really know if they want to fight this. Esk is sort of looking for an opportunity. Sammy is as well, and if he can take down Gunner, that would be big. He's not able to get the kill, but he does set up Esk. Blinks in, gets that last bit of nuke damage in, so Gunner gets taken down. The Sonic Wave now deployed to finish off Husky. Costabile, well, he's stuck for a moment, but now that the Sonic Wave's been deployed and Yamsun is dead, the damage is kind of dried up.
yeah, they kind of run out. Now they can still most likely get this tower here, but it's where everybody needs to be so careful, really just stand on their tippy toes here, especially with Kisses coming online and Husky, unfortunately not having a TP. If he did, maybe you could see them go for a rebuttal, but I think that's where Nouns really need to get a little bit more scared of their opponents here. And we've got problems, to be honest. If we're Nouns right now, BKB's coming out on Esk. Now that Queen of Pain is not really going to be a target, as mid lane, an attempt on a Kostabile's life, but they always do this. They get this super early double BKB timing on their cores. Yamsun is not going to have his for a little bit, but it's where you have, what, one BKB to trade out on Gunner. He's still one component away. And Kostabile, oh no.
They take down Husky first, but Yamsun was able to keep the chase going. Here comes Alexo. Bushwhack is not available, but they do have the Reality Rift. Moo, I don't know if you want to be here. He is going to go in anyway. That might be enough. No, Kostabile will still fall, but it sets up the Kisses. A lot of damage coming through. Illuminate flies in as well. Devi gets taken down, but Moo is just going to get really just dropped. Health dropped low by that Pugna. Esk is the one to finish things off, and... well, it wasn't a bad sort of reinitiation. They just couldn't finish off those low health heroes, and Wildcard will take the win. Yamsun has now sort of invaded this west side jungle to steal away a little bit of extra farm, and well, Nouns are going to try to mount some sort of response there, and that is not a bad play, getting onto Alexo, but they would love to be able to push onto this tier 1 tower afterwards, and they don't really seem like they're all going to go in for it.
Yeah, and really, they can't. It's just too slow, too much time where they're just kind of playing into their opponent's hands, and really, they're just kind of dying by Wildcard running at them at this stage of the game. It's very simply the initiation from that Atos' bottom. Oh, Kostabile, you do not want to die again here.
He doesn't have his ult either, so they only have to get through him once. There's the Sonic, and they've got the kill. And now they'll just Fiendscape themselves out of here. There's not really enough lockdown.
It's still
Hit
so
and
funny
run.
looking. But
Oh.
that's super unfortunate, and really a play that you wouldn't think Kostabile gets punished for, but it's where you stop thinking about the Fiend skit for a second there, and it's definitely a long cooldown, but I'll take that every single day of the week. And looking over at Kostabile, unfortunately, we're not seeing that easy time. We're not seeing that immediate deso into Blink Dagger. It's where, unfortunately, Wraith King playing from behind just does not feel like the greatest carry, even though you do have that Aegis, and already we're kind of posing the questions of what do you do versus that CK. I don't know. A CK that's 2,000 ahead of you, it's even less that you can do.
It's going to be a rough one from for nouns, rather, but this is what we were sort of talking about. This is what we expected. Wildcard, we're going to try and push the tempo, try and get out there early on and apply that pressure, and nouns would have to endure it and then sort of bounce back. They so far have done a pretty decent job of enduring. They're down by 2k, yes, but they're not knocked out of the game early, but it's the bounce back part that's going to be the issue, as S just pops the BKB, looking to jump in for the kill onto Z-Freak. He does not have Sonic, though, so this really is not a kill he's going to be able to get. Z-Freak just TPs away, and BKB down.
Yeah, so does Moo. He gets to evacuate out of that bottom lane there, but that's where for nouns, you still have got Gunner, right? He's still able to play his hero. He's still the most farmed hero in the game, just finished off his own BKB. And when it comes to just BKB and running away from your opponents here, Wildcard can't really do very much here, as Moo would love to arena Sammy Boy. And yeah, easy kill. Need more of those.
Yamsun, though, he's kind of getting in here on the back line. Husky is going to get traded. Do they go for any more? Because they're starting to get in. They've got that nice sort of, like, wrap-around play. Yamsun gets a second kill. Esk is coming in. Has the Sonic up in a few seconds. Doesn't have the mana for it at the moment, but I don't know if they really want to go back in. Alexo, meanwhile, actually brings the Mortimer Kisses to an end on the back line. So now if they want to re-engage, they certainly can. They've gotten through Kosable's first life. Husky tries to get in there with the hookshot. Not a bad hookshot either, but it's just not enough. Kosable still falls. Devi, meanwhile, is dropped low. Sammy's able to heal him up long enough for him to get away with the Fiend's Gate. And it's starting to fall apart for nouns. Gunner tried to wrap around onto the high ground. Instead, he gets pulled in. That's going to force out the pig pull and the BKB. So Gunner is able to make it away. The problem with this entire fight, though, ET, is count the number of kills nouns just got. It's 0. It's a pretty easy count.
They got Pugna, right? He's still back here. He bought back. You know, that counts for
Oh, that's
something.
right. He bought back. My bad. Hey, they got one kill. He got one.
No, it's still a little bit unfortunate. I just don't think we're really getting those easy initiations that we should be getting from Moo. I really think it comes back to just the Mars leaving his lane a little bit too soon. Ever since then, it just has felt very awkward for him to actually make plays, as I'm looking over at Yamsun, who is getting that Blink Dagger that we always talk about with him on this hero. It just opens up the map for his team, and that is going to be my concern here, because right now, you are playing on Wildcard with Gunner always nagging at you, always getting those blinding lights, always constantly illuminating. Can you imagine if they find Gunner first? I mean, then I don't know what nouns do. It really is going to be a game of cat and mouse that I think they're going to lose, and at the very least, your Mars is going to have BKB pretty soon, and then he can stand around in that pit ward AoE, but if Gunner went too close to that cliff, that most likely would have just been a very dead Gunner.
They're able to fall back for the time being, but see Husky just trying to stand a little bit apart from his teammates, looking for that opportunity to hookshot his way into some sort of engagement, any sort of pick play, but he actually gets spotted first. Devi's going to hit him up with the Rod of Atos, so Husky is, at this point, really more concerned with defending himself as opposed to finding an initiation, but Devi alone is not going to be able to just sort of track down that kill, so Husky gets away for the time being, and I don't know, right now, what exactly do nouns do? They're a little bit split up, so not sure if they have an opportunity for a fight, but with Moo TPing back mid, they could try to get this going. Oh, Gunner's BKB gets forced out there by, I think, just the bushwhack from Alexo. How much further do they want to take this? They got a nice stun, and the spear is there, but Sammy is there as well, able to heal his teammate up in time, and now if you're Wildcard, is this your moment? They're looking at it, they're going to try to push in. Husky turns around, though, gets off that hookshot into the Cog spear stun combo. Devi is dropping pretty low, and Sammy wasn't in position to heal him, so Devi will fall. They'll trade out for Z-Freak, though, as Yamsun was able to get in there to find a return kill, but they really do want Gunner. They know his BKB is not available, but he's able to pig pull himself away for the time being, but Stabile, well, he's kind of trapped on the other side of the fight. Devi Lama was able to push in with his Fiend's Gate, so Kosabile is going to lose that first life. Reincarnation's going to bring him back up. Moo, meanwhile, tries to get the arena in here to help, but that's just not doing any good. They'll lose the Wraith King a second time, and now Moo loses his BKB. He's going to get rooted up by that Pit of Malice. He's pulled back in by the Reality Rift. Yamsun will take him down, and, well, just like the last time, Sammy goes down, and Wildcard win the fight. So even when he's not playing Bane, ET, he's basically still playing Bane.
He's just the, he's just the nice guy on the team, right? Just always willing to put his life down at the feet of everyone else. And that was a good fight for nouns. Picking off Devi like that was great, but It's where Wildcard unfortunately just aggressively used their
Oh,
buyback.
Alexo.
Gunner is going to kill Alexo, yeah. He's being very obnoxious, and they actually can't stick around. There you go. That's your Wraith King nerf right there. Chaos Strike just makes it take a little bit longer, and the Flare actually scouts out both heroes TPing bottom. Now, the question is, can Nouns actually go into the pit? Probably not. This is a little bit crazy here. Zefrig does have the little shredder, but they're going to need everybody, and Costabile's got to be here. But I think, honestly, they've probably
Oh,
got this.
Z-Freak stepped in front of his teammate there, so the hook shot will not connect. They should still get Alexo here, or maybe not. Bushwhack comes in. Z-Freak's going to get caught out, rooted up, taken down, so... Well, getting in each other's way just that little bit. If that hook shot connects, maybe they have more lockdown to secure it, as Alexo honestly could not afford to die there. He had just bought back, so...
Oh,
Sharpshooter? Oh, not really going to hit onto anything, but now here comes Yamsun. Pushing
oh
into the
no.
river. Not going to be able to find any kill or fight, but that does get them control of the pit again. Roshan is pretty damn low on HP, so at this point, yeah, they got to try something, but look, Devi gets the root down. Secondary root onto Moon. Not going to let him push forward for the arena. But Yamsun, I mean, they got to finish this fast. Here comes Husky pushing into the pit. He's going to drop the cogs down. They should just focus everything they've got onto killing him. They will do so. So the timing's a little bit off, but Roshan is still not dead. Gunner's going to push in now.
Oh.
Maybe he wishes he hadn't. Can they kill him off in
Oh.
time? Yes, they can. They get a lucky crit there with the Chaos Strike. And that was certainly not smooth. Wasn't pretty. Wasn't coordinated in the slightest, but Wildcard get Roshan. They get a couple of kills. They are Fiends gating their way onto Costable. They'll hit him up with that Rod of Atos, and this is where the trouble begins. Zefreak's going to try to provide some covering fire, but the Reincarnation has already been popped. They get him up with the Root afterwards. Yamsun is looking to just use the Aegis right now, basically, but they don't even bring him down. They don't have the damage. Costable's the one to fall. Mu has to use his BKB to retreat. S doesn't want to let him go, though, and with the Sonic Wave, he might be able to do this, but doesn't want to dive into the base. Meanwhile, Z-Freak getting spotted out here in the middle lane. They should be able to catch up to him. Now Husky, hook shots in. Maybe he can make something happen, but Esk activates the BKB, pops the Scream, still gets the kill, and then blinks away.
Yeah, and now they're all going to get their resets. They all get to watch out there. And really, that extra re-engage onto the Wraith King bottom all starts with Costabile using his BKB to walk really into the pit. And the only reason the Wraith King's out that far is because Z-Freak is on the sidelines because he overextended on the outpost. Really just a cascade of misfortunes for Nouns. And, well, Wildcard get to reset. They get all of their mana, all of their HP back. Cinnamon Boy's making it even easier for Esk. Doesn't need to take that trip all the way back to the well. And I just wondered now, will Mu get this Blink Dagger before the game is already kind of said and done here? And there certainly is upward progression here for a lot of the Nouns heroes. It feels like they're all maybe one or two items behind their own counterparts on the wildcard side, but they're able to farm up. I could see something coming. Gardner's getting really up there in terms of net worth, and he still is up there in net worth. This Blade could be huge, especially when it comes to picking off the Pugna and the Hoodwink, but at the same time, you wonder if this Coddle has kind of missed his timing. You wonder if it's really going to come down to whether or not he gets a Hex, because I think the issue is no matter who Nouns go on, they're just not staying on that target for very long. They're just always able to kind of walk away as Costabile.
It caught him. There's the Bushwhack into the Reality Rift.
BKB.
He pops his BKB. Alexo is not going to be able to connect with the Sharpshooter, so the Wraith King walks away. That's honestly unbelievably important that he actually gets out. As speaking of getting out, Husky hooks, TPs. No, he doesn't. It's canceled by really multiple interrupts there, so he was not getting out no matter what. But if Husky lives and your Wraith King, or excuse me, if Husky dies and your Wraith King lives, you're okay with that. As Esk got himself picked off on the other side of the map. He had a silence and a BKB, but it wasn't enough to keep him safe.
Let's see if they can keep this rolling. If they just keep waterfalling in here, Wildcard could be caught in quite a big mistake, but that's also where Costabile cannot show on the map really anywhere. Without his BKB, he still is very weak, but they know somebody TP'd bottom. I feel like Nouns, they probably just smoke up now, look for anybody on the top side of the map, like the Pugna or the CK, and then they take that pick. This is also important, though. They should deward this before anything really happens here. See if the True Sight talent... No, he's not high enough level on the clock, but unfortunately, walking through all this wildcard vision, don't think Nouns are going to have their opportunity anymore to make a nice smoke play and keep this Quap timer really playing for them.
Yeah, Wildcard now know exactly where their opponents are. They can just avoid them until the Queen of Pain's back up. They've still got or will still have about a minute on the Aegis even once Esk respawns. So they can just play it safe here. Wait for the respawn, go in then, look for another team fight. They've got a Scotty now up on Yamsun. This is such a farmed CK. He is, well, he's frankly terrifying, and he's going to try and make a move. They're going to jump in onto Moo in the middle lane. Bushwhack pulls everybody back in. Moo dead, Z-Freak gone as well, and well, apparently they didn't need to wait for Esk after all. Yamsun's just able to carry the fight with his damage and his teammates lockdown, and now if you're Nouns, it's time to go. Costable's got a TP home. He will be able to do so. But again, keep having to use this sort of BKB play from your Wraith King defensively to get away from these ganks, so his farming rhythm is still not fantastic. You mentioned earlier there's a lot of room for him to progress. That is still true, but as of right now, he's a long ways behind the opposing cores.
Yeah, and 5,000 gold behind the CK. CK's got Aegis. Not going to have Aegis for very much longer, but with the Scotty, it's 4,000 HP that you're going to have to break through, and really, I think that's where, unfortunately, you're very damage limited on the Noun side here. It's really just Gunnar doing the brunt of the work, and you'd love to get this CK, actually, when he tries to fade out.
Oh, that's a
and
problem.
Going to be Aegis for a little bit more, but oh my goodness.
They just blow up his first life. Husky tries to get in with the hookshot. The Sonic Wave, though, is going to knock everybody back. Sammy, he will die. So they do find that one pick so far. But now the Aegis is going to time out. Yamsun will completely heal up as he was able to back away, and he's going to look to reinitiate. Phantasm's back up in 1 second as well, so they will make their move. Gunnar and Moo both popping the BKBs, though, so they're not going to get taken down just yet. But against this physical damage, yeah, they can't really hold their ground. They have to fall back, which means Wildcard should finish off this melee Rax. Ooh, Gunnar. That's a very risky play. He's going to get hit up by the Bushwhack. And Devi gets him with the Rod of Atos. There's the Reality Rift, and Gunnar is dead. No buyback available for your Coddle, and well, they're still going to have to try and defend, but at this point, actually, there's really nothing left to defend. Wildcard can't rotate anywhere else. There's tier 2s in both of those side lanes, and they really can't go all the way to tier 4s right now.
Yeah, I think that's where, look at the Bugatti. There it is. All back to the bottom lane. And they get to just get that full reset, immediately take over that Radiant side of the jungle. And this should be a good smoke, because on paper, Nouns are ready to go. Wildcard should be in the fountain. They should be dispersed, but they're just going to immediately run into their high ground. This is a beautiful way to use the Fiend's Gate.
What a strong hero, even after they fixed the glitch that made him murder the crap out of everything in sight. So Devi's making the most of it. We said earlier on, you know, would this be one of those sort of good Underlord games? And it's certainly looking like it so far as Devi blinks forward, gets the root down. Costable, yeah, 4-step back, he'll be fine, but they weren't looking for the kill. They were just looking to push heroes off of the tower. Mu, though, is actually going to make his move. He jumps in, drops the arena down. They would love to get Yamsun, but look at Sammy just healing him up all the way. They're going to turn this fight. Costable's the one who's dropping low. No reincarnation for 20. They needed to get him out, and I believe they will. He does get... Oh, God, he does get stunned, though, and look at Devi blinking forward, dropping the Firestorm. Costable dead, Gunnar dead, Mu dead, GG called. One last push forward there from Wildcard. Gets the job done. And they will take the opening game of this 2-game series. I think they'll get one last kill onto Z-Freak there as well, but at that point, the outcome was already determined.
Yeah, I really feel like Nouns kind of need to shrug this one off. Really do not feel like Mu had the performance he was really expecting either. The game, again, at least for them, in my opinion, begins with Mu getting that Blink Dagger, being able to cross the river. How many times did we see Downs have to give up on pushes because Costabile isn't ready, because you don't have those creep waves in? And Gunnar is constantly putting waves in, but he's putting waves into the purview of the Queen of Pain, into the CK, into Devi. All 3 cores on Wildcard are so incredibly farmed. They're so close to net worth because they really never stopped. Even though they've gotten maybe a few deaths, bundled together, you never saw Nouns, especially once those BKBs were complete on Wildcard's side, have that team fight, have the ability to actually stick around after the fact, where the opposite was true for Wildcard. How many times did we see that BKB get forced out by either the Coddle or the Wraith King? They have to stay in the fight because they're going to give up on the objective that's at hand, but then the pit gets down, Devi's a little bit too effective. These super early BKBs on Nouns just don't come at the same time. Don't feel like Nouns were even really playing for a power spike in this game. Did not see the same level of Dota I think we're usually used to seeing from them. Everyone really had a rough time aside from Gunnar, and, well, Coddle's just simply not enough. Unless you're nothing to say, then it's enough, but Gunnar is not nothing to say.
Yeah, need a little bit more support from the rest of the lineup, and that did happen. Mu and Costabile struggled, and honestly, this Husky Clockwork pick really never did what they wanted it to do either. He was hooking into Fiend's Gates, he hooked into the backside of his own teammate once in Z Freak, so you weren't really able to get the most out of that pick. You weren't really able to be as disruptive really once the laning stage ended. So worth a try if you're nouns, but it didn't work. We'll see now if they try something a little bit different. So adjustments need to be made. And game two is going to be coming up in just a little bit here. So we shall see what nouns come up with, and we'll see what Wildcard will try to do here and what is going to be their final game of this group stage. They have now secured themselves an upper bracket spot with this first win, but why not go for the 2-0? Why not hold on to that tiebreaker just in case against nouns? So I don't think they're going to be taking their foot off the gas in the slightest. So you shall find out. Game two, only about 5 to 10 minutes away here. So stick around.